Imagine a dominant team that crushed every opponent in their path, leaving a trail of broken records and shattered dreams. Now picture a team so bad that they couldn't score a single touchdown for weeks. Today, we're looking into the world of NFL Extreme as we count down the 5 best teams that redefined greatness and the 5 worst teams that, well, let's just say they redefined something else entirely. What's up, guys? Welcome to another video on NFL history. I'm your host, and today we're talking about a topic that's sure to spark some heated debates. We're counting down the 5 best teams in NFL history, the juggernauts that left us amazed, and the 5 worst teams that, let's be honest, left us wondering if they were playing the same sport. Now, before you grab your pitchforks because your favorite team didn't make the best list, remember, we're looking at overall dominance, statistical achievements, and of course, that shiny Lombardi trophy. And for those of you whose team might be on the worst list, well, there's always someone who has to come last, right? Let's kick things off with the cream of the crop. The best of the best. These teams didn't just win games, they rewrote the record books and left their mark on NFL history. Coming in at number 5, we have the 1984 San Francisco 49ers. Now, if you're thinking, wait, what about the Montana Rice 49ers? Hold your horses, we're talking about the team that set the stage for that dynasty. The 84 Niners were a force to be reckoned with, posting a jaw-dropping 15-1 record. But it wasn't just about the wins, but how they won. This team was the epitome of balance, boasting the league's second-best offense and defense. Talk about a nightmare for opponents. At the riding seat was the young Joe Montana, already showing signs of the greatness that would define his career. But what set this team apart was their clutch gene. Out of their 15 wins, 6 were one-possession games. That's right when the going got tough, the 49ers got going. The team sent 7 players to the Pro Bowl that year. 7. That's almost enough to field a whole offensive unit of all-stars. And let's not forget the cherry on top. They capped off this incredible season by winning the Super Bowl. But here's a fun fact that often gets overlooked. The 84 Niners had to navigate through some seriously nail-biting moments. Those 6 one-possession games, they could have gone either way. But time and time again, Montana and Comey found a way to pull out the win. It's this combination of dominance and clutch performance that earns them a spot on our list. Now, let's take a sharp turn and look at our first entry in the teams we'd rather forget category. Coming in at number 5 on our worst list, we have the 1982 Baltimore Colts. And guys, this team redefined the meaning of bad luck. Picture this. It's 1982, and due to a player strike, the NFL season is shortened to just 9 games. Most teams would see this as a chance to regroup and maybe salvage a tough season. The Colts, they saw it as a challenge to set new lows in football futility. In those 9 games, the Colts managed to lose 8, and that one game they didn't lose, they tied. That's right, they couldn't even accidentally stumble into a win. It's like they were allergic to the end zone. Let's break down the numbers and brace yourselves, because they're not pretty. The Colts scored a grand total of 113 points for the entire season. To put that in perspective, some teams score that much in 3 games. Their defense ranked 26th out of 28 teams, but wait, it gets worse. For every 18 passing touchdowns their opponents scored, the Colts managed just 6. In the rushing game, it was 10-4. It's like they were playing a different sport entirely. The crown jewel of their season of shame? In weeks 11 and 12, the Colts were shut out completely. It's like they forgot they were supposed to be trying to score. Now, to be fair, their defense wasn't a complete disaster. They only allowed 30 or more points 3 times all season. But when your offense only scores 20 or more points only 3 times in return, well, you can see why they're on this list. The 1982 Colts serve as a reminder that in football, as in life, things can always get worse. But hey, at least they paved the way for better days ahead, right? Alright, let's cleanse our palate with some football excellence. At number 4 on our best list, we have the 1991 Washington Redskins, now known as the Commanders. This team was the definition of a well-oiled machine. They cruised to a 14-2 record, but that only tells part of the story. These guys were dominant on both sides of the ball in a way that few teams have ever managed. Let's start with the offense, that they led the league in scoring, but it wasn't just one superstar carrying the team. It was a true team effort. You had quarterback Mark Rypien, only in his 4th year playing like a seasoned veteran. Ernest Biner was grinding out yards on the ground, crossing the 1,000-yard mark, and Gerald Riggs was punching it in, leading the team with 11 rushing touchdowns. But here's where it gets really impressive. You know you have a stacked team when a future Hall of Famer like Art Monk doesn't even lead the team in receiving yards. That's right, Monk still managed to crack 1,000 yards, but he wasn't even the top dog in this high-powered offense. On the other side of the ball, the defense was nearly as impressive, ranking 2nd in the league. When you combine the best offense with the second-best defense, you get a team that's practically unstoppable. Need more proof of their dominance? How about 7 Pro Bowl selections? That's almost a third of the starting lineup being recognized as the best at their positions. And of course, they capped it all off with a Super Bowl victory, the franchise's third. But it wasn't just that they won. It was how they won. This team didn't just beat opponents, they demoralized them. The 1991 Redskins were a perfect storm of talent, coaching, and execution. They're a testament to what can happen when every aspect of a team comes together at the right time. Now brace yourselves, because we're about to witness a masterclass in how not to play football. At number 4 on our worst list, we have the 2017 Cleveland Browns. Now, being a Browns fan has never been easy, but 2017, that was a special kind of pain. Picture this. In 2016, the Browns went 1-15. Pretty bad, right? Well, hold on to your helmets because in 2017, they managed to do even worse. The 2017 Browns joined the inglorious ranks of teams to go 0-16 for an entire season. That's right, 0 wins, 16 losses. They looked at the Detroit Lions' 0-16 season in 2008 and said, "Hold my beer." Well, let's break down this disaster. The offense was, to put it mildly, offensive. They ranked in the bottom 10 in yards and dead last in points scored. But here's the kicker. The defense wasn't even that bad until you got to the red zone. They were middle of the pack in yards allowed, but when it came to actually stopping teams from scoring, they fell apart faster than a cheap jersey. They allowed the second most points in the entire league. You know, it's bad when you can't even win the title of worst defense. It's like they were trying to be the best at being the worst, and they couldn't even manage that. But perhaps the most Browns thing about this whole debacle, they followed up a 1-15 season by going 0-16. It's like they looked at their previous season and thought, you know what? We can do worse. The 2017 Browns are a testament to the fact that in the NFL, rock bottom always has a basement. They're the team that makes other bad teams feel better about themselves. But hey, at least they were consistent, right? Alright guys, it's time to talk about a team that didn't just play defense, they redefined it. At number 3 on our best list, we have the 1985 Chicago Bears. If you're picturing a group of grizzly bears in shoulder pads, you're not far off. This team was mean, they were tough, and they were hungrier than a bear after hibernation. Led by the incomparable Mike Ditka, the 85 Bears steamrolled their way to a 15-1 record. But it's not just the record that makes them special, it's how they did it. This Bears team had the second best offense in terms of points per game. Pretty impressive, right? But that's not what they're remembered for. No, the 1985 Bears are immortalized for having what many consider the best defense of all time. Let's put this into perspective. In a 16-game season, they allowed less than 200 points total. That's not just good, that's absurd. It's like they turned every game into a trip to the dentist for opposing offenses, painful and over as quickly as possible. Including the playoffs, this defense allowed 10 or fewer points 14 times. And just to show off, 4 of those were shutouts. When you played the 85 Bears, you weren't worried about winning. You were worried about scoring at all. Now, they weren't perfect. They did to drop one game to the Miami Dolphins on Monday Night Football. But you know what they did after that? They bounced back and finished the season as arguably the best defense in NFL history. The 85 Bears weren't just a football team. They were a force of nature. They didn't just beat you, they broke your will to play football. They're the reason why, even decades later, people still talk about defense winning championships. Now, let's set sail for some truly treacherous waters. At number 3 on our worst list, we have the 1976 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Buckle up, guys, because this is going to be a bumpy ride. Picture this, it's 1976 and the NFL decides to expand. Enter the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a brand new team ready to make their mark on the league. And boy, did they make a mark, just not the kind they were hoping for. In their inaugural season, the Bucs went 0-14. That's right, they played 14 games and lost every single one of them. But it's not just that they lost, it's how they lost that earns them a spot on this list. Let's start with the offense, or should I say, the lack thereof. The Bucs had statistically the worst offense in the league, barely scraping together 120 points for the entire year. To put that in perspective, some teams score that much in 3 games. Their passing game was so bad it makes you wonder if they knew which end of the football to throw. They had less than 2,000 yards through the air for the entire season. And it wasn't for lack of trying, they went through 3 starting quarterbacks. It's like they were playing quarterback musical chairs and nobody wanted to sit down. The ground game? Not much better. Not a single running back cracked 600 yards. That's not a typo, 600 yards. There are high school running backs who put up better numbers. But wait, it gets worse. The Bucs were shut out 5 times. 5 times. And they didn't score their first touchdown until the 4th quarter of Week 4. And even then, it was a fumble return by the defense. The offense didn't find the end zone until later that game. It's like they were allergic to scoring. The defense, bless their hearts, tried their best. But when your offense is that bad, there's only so much you can do. They allowed 412 points over the season and let opposing offenses drop 40-plus points on multiple occasions. The 1976 Buccaneers weren't just bad, they were historically bad. They set the bar so low that even limbo dancers couldn't get under it. But hey, at least they could only go up from there, right? Alright, football fans, it's time to talk about a team that was so good it almost hurts. At number 2 on our best list, we have the 2007 New England Patriots. Now, I know what you're thinking, but they didn't win the Super Bowl. True, but hear me out because this team was something special. The 2007 Patriots were like the Avengers of football. They had a roster so stacked, it makes you wonder if they were playing with cheat codes. You had Tom Brady throwing passes like he had a GPS in the football. Randy Moss was catching everything thrown his way, probably including passes meant for the water boy, and Wes Welker was darting around the field like a caffeinated squirrel. But it wasn't just the offense. On defense, you had guys like Mike Vrabel, Teddy Bruschi, and Vince Wilfork. It was like they assembled a Pro Bowl team and decided to play a full season together. Let's talk numbers, because with this team, the stats are just mind-boggling. They finished the regular season 16-0. That's right, undefeated. In the salary cap era, that's about as rare as a unicorn riding a dinosaur. Randy Moss hauled in an absurd 23 touchdowns. 23. There are entire teams that don't score that many passing touchdowns in a season. And Tom Brady, he casually tossed 50 touchdowns. It's like they were playing Madden on rookie mode. The offense was a scoring machine, cracking 30 points in 13 games. That's not just good, that's video game numbers. And the defense, they held opponents to 20 or fewer points 14 times. It was a complete team in every sense of the word. Now, I know what you're going to say, but they lost the Super Bowl. And you're right, they did. In one of the greatest upsets in sports history, they fell to the New York Giants. But does one game, as important as it was, negate an entire season of dominance? The 2007 Patriots may not have gotten the fairy tale ending, but they're still widely regarded as having the most stacked roster of all time. They didn't just play football, they redefined what was possible on a football field. Now, let's take a journey to the Motor City for a team that definitely wasn't firing on all cylinders. At number 2 on our worst list, we have the 2008 Detroit Lions. If the 2007 Patriots were the Avengers of football, the 2008 Lions were, well, let's just say they wouldn't even make it as sidekicks in a straight-to-DVD superhero movie. The 2008 Lions hold a dubious distinction. They were the first team in NFL history to go 0-16. That's right, they played 16 games and lost every single one of them. It's an achievement of sorts, I suppose, just not the kind you want to be remembered for. Now, you might think, surely they must have had some close games, right? Well, only 5 of their 16 losses were within one possession. And ironically, there was a stretch where they had 4 one-possession losses in a row. It's like they were flirting with competence, only to ghost it at the last minute. The offense was bad, sure, but it was the defense that really took the cake. They allowed a whopping 517 points over the season. That's like spotting your opponents a 2-touchdown lead before the game even starts. But wait, it gets worse. The defense allowed opposing offenses to drop 30 points on them 11 times. 11! At that point, you have to wonder if they were even on the field or if they were secretly auditioning for Dancing with the Stars. And let's not forget the quarterback carousel. The Lions went through 3 different starting quarterbacks throughout the season. It's like they were playing QB roulette, and somehow they lost every spin. Here's the kicker. The team produced no Pro Bowlers that season. It's like the entire team was in a witness protection program trying their hardest not to stand out. But hey, Lions fans, at least you can say you're first in something, right? First team to go 0-16 in NFL history. It's not much, but it's something. The 2008 Detroit Lions weren't just bad, they were historically bad. They set a new standard for futility that teams pray they never come close to matching. But in the grand tradition of Detroit, they built this lemon and drove it straight into the record books. Ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the peak of perfection in NFL history. At number 1 on our best list, we have the 1972 Miami Dolphins. Cue the popping of champagne bottles. The 72 Dolphins aren't just the best team on our list, they're the gold standard of NFL perfection. Why? Because they're the only team in the Super Bowl era to go undefeated in the regular season and win the Super Bowl. That's right, a perfect 17-0 record when it was all said and done. Now, you might be thinking, wait, didn't the 2007 Patriots go 16-0 in the regular season? Yes, they did. But remember, they stumbled at the final hurdle. The 72 Dolphins? They cleared every single hurdle with room to spare. Let's break down this juggernaut of a team. They had not 1, but 2 starting quarterbacks. In most cases, that's a recipe for disaster. For the Dolphins, it was just another day at the office. And just to show off, they also had 2 players eclipse 1,000 yards rushing. Talk about an embarrassment of riches. But it wasn't just the offense that was clicking. The defense was stingier than your uncle at Christmas. They only allowed 20 or more points on 3 occasions. 3, and they only allowed a 200-yard passer once in the entire season. It's like they had a no-fly zone before it was cool. Here's a mind-blowing stat for you. The Dolphins allowed only 171 points all season. That's barely over 10 points per game. Meanwhile, their offense was averaging the most points per game in the league. It wasn't just that they were winning. they were absolutely dominating. The 72 Dolphins weren't just a great team, they were a perfect team. They didn't just win games, they rewrote the definition of excellence in the NFL, and perhaps the most impressive part, they've held on to that perfection for over 50 years. Every year when the last undefeated team falls, the members of that 72 Dolphins team pop a champagne bottle to celebrate their enduring legacy. In a league where parity is king and going .500 is considered a decent season, the 1972 Miami Dolphins stand as a testament to what's possible when everything clicks. They're not just the best team on our list, they might just be the best team in NFL history, period. And now, we've reached the bottom of the barrel, the cream of the crap. At number 1 on our worst list, we have the 1942 Detroit Lions. Sorry, Motor City, but you're bookending our worst list. Now, you might be thinking, how can any team be worse than the 016 Lions we just talked about? Well, buckle up, because we're about to take a trip back in time to witness a special kind of football catastrophe. The 1942 Lions went 0-11. But wait, I hear you say, that's fewer losses than the 2008 Lions. True, but it's not just about the number of losses, it's about how spectacularly they lost. Let's start with the offense, or should I say, the lack thereof. The 1942 Lions scored a grand total of 38 points, not per game, not per month, for the entire season. That's an average of 3.45 points per game. There are soccer teams that score more than that, but wait, it gets worse. They never scored more than 10 points in a single game. Not once. It's like they hit double digits once and decided, well, that's enough scoring for the season. Oh, and they were shut out 5 times. 5 times. That's nearly half their games where they couldn't muster a single point. It's like they forgot the object of the game was to actually score. Now you might be thinking, surely their defense must have been decent, right? Wrong. They were dead last in points allowed too. Remember, there were only 10 NFL teams at this point, so being last in both categories is a special kind of terrible. Here's the kicker. Out of the 9 players who attempted a pass that season, only 1 threw a touchdown. And get this, it wasn't even their quarterback. It was a guy named Ned Matthews, listed as a wingback, who barely saw the field. It's like they accidentally scored a touchdown and then decided, nope, not doing that again. Want more proof of their ineptitude? Their leading passer for the season had 258 yards, 0 touchdowns, and 13 interceptions, and he made the Pro Bowl that year. It's like the league felt so bad for them, they had to give them something. The 1942 Detroit Lions weren't just bad, they were transcendentally awful. They set the bar so low that you'd need archaeological equipment to find it. In a league that's all about scoring points and making big plays, the 42 Lions seem to be playing an entirely different sport. And there you have it, guys. The 5 best and 5 worst teams in NFL history. From the perfect season of the 1972 Dolphins to the perfectly awful season of the 1942 Lions, we've covered the entire spectrum of NFL performance. What have we learned from this journey through football's highs and lows? Well, for one, the difference between greatness and disaster in the NFL is often razor thin. A few key plays, a couple of star performers, or a brilliant coaching decision can be the difference between hoisting the Lombardi Trophy and being the punchline of football jokes for decades to come. We've seen that true greatness in the NFL isn't just about talent, it's about consistency, teamwork, and the ability to perform under pressure. The best teams on our list didn't just win, they dominated in a way that left no doubt about their superiority. On the flip side, we've learned that when things go wrong in the NFL, they can go spectacularly wrong. But even in the depths of football futility, there's a weird kind of honor. After all, being the worst at something still means you're the best at being the worst. So, whether your team is currently channeling the 72 Dolphins or looking uncomfortably similar to the 42 Lions, remember, in the NFL, there's always next season. Unless you're the 72 Dolphins, in which case, you can just keep popping that champagne. Thanks for joining me on this wild ride through NFL history. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more interesting videos from World of Sports.